Tell you about the most important mod on my car. And this is actually a new mod. I just got it, but this is a must-have. And that is, I realized I had to rebuild the motor again. Hey guys, welcome to Gearhead 704. I'm Matt, and this is the episode you've been waiting for. That's right, today we go over all the details on my FoxBody Mustang, how I got it, why I love it, and all the mods. Okay, so I actually have had this car since 2004. It is a one-owner car. When I got it, it was completely stock. It even had the air silencer, so literally no mods. I wanted one that was stock because I wanted to be the one to make all the modifications to it. The body was in really good shape. You know, it does need some paint, but as far as underneath, there's really no rust at all. It's a very straight car, very solid car, and it was that good foundation that I needed. First thing I wanted to do to it was mod it, right? And the mods are very typical that I did. I'm gonna try and walk you through each mod as I put that on the car so you get an idea of what some owners typically do with these cars. So let me go ahead and prop the hood open. The very first thing that I did was exhaust. And so I installed some shorty headers on this car. I say I installed, I didn't, took it to a shop. As I said before, I'm not a master mechanic, said that in previous episodes. Probably see the headers. I'm gonna also try and put some pictures in, make it a little easier for you guys to see. But those are the BBK shorty headers. They are unequal length. There is also equal length headers that you can get, and of course you can get full long tube headers. But I started out with the shorties. They were make it still easy to work on. I do change like the spark plugs and the spark plug wires, that type of thing. So that made it a lot easier for that. The shorty headers went into a BBK high flow cat H pipe. It's a different pipe on it today, but that's what I started with. Also, I got a cat back exhaust. What else? The Flowmasters 2-chamber American Thunder kit. Super 44s, I think they're also called. So I did a cold air intake, BBK as well, connected to the throttle body. This is the air filter still. Actually, these are washable. It's the K&N air filter, so I just need to clean it. It's in pretty bad shape right now. The other thing I did right at the beginning was I went with gears. I changed the gears out. So the stock rear and gear ratio on these things was a 308, and I went and changed it to a 373. Usually people would debate 410s or 355s, right? And if you aren't going to do much highway driving, 410s is a lot better, but then when you try to do any highway driving, the revs are just too high. And 355s are usually a little better for manual car and highway driving. I kind of went in the middle, and let me tell you that when I changed that, that's probably what I noticed the biggest difference. And that was basically just what I started out with, just those few things. And I drove the car like that for quite a while. Now, there were some cosmetic problems with the car that I had to address right away. And so let me go ahead and jump into those. So the convertible top was in really, really bad shape on this car. Probably a little easier to show you from the inside. So I'm going from the passenger side here. The roof here, this piece right up here, right above me, where I've got the light shining right on, I don't know if you can see that. This was completely loose. Wind used to come in here, a lot of wind, and the roof would almost lift up. It was not holding on very well. You can see right here, I think these are called J-hooks maybe, that where the latches go in here. These pieces were not in good shape. And so the whole convertible top was basically falling apart. So I had to completely replace that, as well as the interior was not in good shape at all. I had it recovered in the factory leather. At the time, I thought I was gonna try and just basically keep it a stock car with just some bolt-ons. I went with the factory seats in the factory leather, and this actually turned out really well, and this has held up pretty well too since I had this done right at the beginning. You can see, you know, even the back, it's in really good shape, no tears or anything like that. So I did the seats in the top and then the carpet. So all the previous owner was actually, she was a smoker, and so there was a lot of stuff on the carpet. It stunk really bad, so I changed the carpet out as well. I changed the wheels. These are the Cobra R rims. They're 17s. The car came with 15s. And obviously this changed the tire as well. So I went with these Cobra Rs, and I think that they Turned out really nice. I think they were also a 10th anniversary edition for the first Cobra R, which I think was in '93. So I went with these, and I love them. One of the common things that you have to change out on the cars is the headlights. And so I did do a headlight because mine have water in them, you know, just like many do. So I put brand new headlights in it back in '04 as well. In addition to the headlights, I did the fog lights too. What's funny about that, so this is the second set of fog lights you can see here. It actually has a crack. Let me go to the other one. It has a crack too. Yeah, so I've already cracked these since I replaced them. At one point I had some suspension problems, and I think I just hit too hard in the road, a bump in the road, and it came down really hard. And that basically took the fog lights out. So I pretty much drove the car around like that for about 8 years. I didn't do anything else to it significant until 2012. I really wanted some power, you know, I was just not satisfied with those basic mods. The stock block had about 158,000 miles on it, and it was just a stock 302, and I just wasn't sure if it was gonna be able to take pounding if I put heads, cam, and intake on it. So instead I went with a DSS 331 stroker. This is actually a 302 motor, 302 block, but it's got a bigger crankshaft in it, which strokes it out to 331 cubic inches. I think it's about 5.4. And from there, I topped it with this Edelbrock intake manifold, Victor Jr. Underneath these Cobra valve covers, I've got Edelbrock Performer RPM aluminum heads. The AccuFab 75mm throttle body. There's also, have to change your mass air meter and your injectors, of course. So the mass air meter, I've got this C&L 73mm. Went with 30-pound injectors. Did change the cam as well. You know, heads, cam, and intake are pretty common. I went with the comp cam. It's a XZ274 BR12. I did change the clutch at that time as well. Again, it still had the 5-speed. Had a spec clutch in it. And what's funny about that is I actually had to go ahead and change out the clutch twice. I did not break the clutch in well. Let's just say that I was already doing launches and things I shouldn't be doing. Also it has a BBK fuel pressure regulator on it. And at the same time, I decided that, you know, all that power I needed to be able to stop, right? So I went ahead and I got a brand new master cylinder. Yeah, there's the master cylinder, new one of those. I just went back with the stock brakes on it, you know, the discs and the drums. But I did put brand new ones on there. I also had to replace the heater core. It was leaking. These cars are notorious for that. I tried to turn the heat on and I was just seeing antifreeze in the car. Wasn't getting any heat. Also went ahead and I changed out the air conditioning system. Converted to R134A, I believe it is. So it has cold AC and good heat. Also get it tuned at the time. So I got a custom chip from SCT chip. They did dyno tune it and then burned me a chip. They said it made 340. I actually never saw it on the dyno though. And the shop I had do all this for me, they're actually out of business now. And I think that part of the reason the clutch went out so fast is I think they basically installed it incorrectly, to be honest. It was very difficult for anybody to drive. The cable was way too tight. I also put on full subframe connectors, which I'm gonna try and throw a picture up on the screen for you so you can see that. I changed the rear control arms. It's got SR Performance rear control arms. I'm gonna go with this Fluidine radiator. It's performed pretty well. I haven't really had any problems with it. I think it's their 3 or 4 core radiator. I also did Tokiko shocks and struts, brand new shocks and struts up front because mine were basically after 160,000 miles, they needed replacing. And fast forward to 2017 and the shop that I used in 2012, they went out of business. Drove the car even less than I did in the prior 8 years. You know, I just didn't drive it very much. It just had all kinds of little problems. The steering wheel, when I would turn, would kind of rub against the header and under certain situations, not all the time, but you know, if you're doing like a hard turn. So I found another shop, and this is where I found Extreme Mustangs. That was actually the first video I put out. So if you haven't seen that, please check the link in the description below. It's pretty funny. It shows Tiffany, my wife, driving the car home, driving a Engel. But yeah, so I went to Extreme Mustangs because the other shop was out of business. And I wanted to find out if they could put a 6-speed in for me. Why? Well, I do like driving the car on the highway when the 373 gears, when you get up to higher speeds. Engine RPM is just too high. And so I wanted to see if they could put in a 6-speed, and that's pretty much the T56 Magnum. And that's how it starts, right? Just let me add one more thing to my build, and boy, did things change from there. I went ahead and got the QuickTime bell housing. Come to find out, the motor that I had installed at the other shop, the crank was not balanced properly. It was about 90 grams off. I realized I had to rebuild the motor again. So because the crank balance was off. So Extreme Mustangs, they put the transmission in for me. They pulled the motor. We went through the 331 again, rebuilt it, put a new ATI harmonic balancer on it. Also, I mentioned the header was rubbing up on the steering wheel at some time. That was because of the motor mounts. The motor mounts that they used were just the stock motor mounts, the original shop. So I replaced those with UPR motor mounts. Realized that my car was basically starving for fuel. It had the stock fuel pump still in it. So we went ahead and pulled that out and put a 255 LPH fuel pump in it. Another thing is that, I don't know if you can tell from the video, but I'm quite tall. And so one of the neater mods for me is they're able to move the seat back. You can see right here, the seat has actually been pushed back, so it goes back much further for me, and it's a lot easier for me to drive. These cars are very small, not a ton of leg room. My legs are basically wrapped around the steering wheel, and now I fit in it so much better. That's probably one of the best mods, is the seat extension. At the same time, I installed this Pioneer radio. Just a basic radio, but at least I can play CD now. I still have the original tape deck and cassette. And that's when I put these gauges in here. So I've got oil pressure, voltage, and of course water temperature gauge. And I forgot to tell you about the most important mod on my car. This is actually a new mod. I just got it, but this is a must-have. And that is a fire extinguisher. FoxBodies are pretty old at this point. I mean, this one will be, actually, it's technically 30 years old because it's an 89 model year. Came out in 88, so you don't want a fire, you know, that ruins your entire project. So just a little handy mod. It's not really a mod, it's just something you should have from the beginning, and I should have had one a long time ago. So where are we at now? Well, since the motor rebuild, I've got 413 miles on the car. I want to get to 600 miles because that's the full break-in, and then you change the oil, and then you can start to finally get on it. But I'm also breaking in the transmission and the clutch at the same time because it's a new transmission. So future plans are get it broke in and take it to the drag strip, see what it can do. Have no experience really drag racing. I've only been once. I'm not very good. Who knows what'll happen, but I definitely want to take it to the strip and see what it can do. I really want to get it on the dyno. I want to know what it makes. You know, I told you with the first 331 that it made about 340. I would think this combination should make a little more. I mean, hopefully maybe 360, maybe 370. I don't know, maybe that's too much to ask, but I really want to see what it can do. So that's the next step, is get the miles on the car and get it on the dyno. The only other thing I would like to tell you guys about how much it costs, but this video has already gone really long, so I'll probably save that for the next one. I'll go into what I've actually spent on the car. Is it worth what I spent on it? No way. But you know, hey, these builds, they take money, and I love the car. It's a great car. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please click that, because we're going to be doing a lot more videos on the Mustang and just car stuff in general. Well, we'll see you next time on Gearhead 704.